What's really interesting to me is TCU's got probably the more underrated back of any of these four teams left. Yeah. They got Quentin Johnson, who's like a bona fide first-round type out wide, and they've got a guy who can actually get him the ball. So if they can pop on the perimeter early, and if they can put Michigan behind, which is a point Michigan's been in multiple times this year, great second-half team, but if they can put him behind, that gives them a chance. If they get out in the deep end, and that's a tie game, it's totally in Michigan's wheelhouse. So that line's like 7.5 or 8 right now. Give me some thoughts on that one.
I would probably, even with those points, play Michigan in this game. And we should probably think that the second half is going to be incredible because these two teams, I think, are the best second half teams in college football. Statistically, not my opinion. Michigan's not going to want to get this thing into a track meet. I think TCU has to go full track meet mode, pace, tempo, ball out quick, ball on perimeter. And yes, Kendre Miller is incredible. But I just don't know if you're going to be able to go right at that defense with him. They have to find creative ways to make space, to get defenders out of position. I think you see a lot of misdirection. You'll see some end around. You'll see guys lined up in different places. You'll see formations into the boundary. I think Sonny Dykes has to force Michigan to misalign a lot of the time and basically be able to steal yards. And then by stealing those yards, they have got to turn them into explosive plays. TCU has to have explosive plays to win this game. They're not going to be able to grind out points and win. And I agree with you. If this thing's even tight, close, a 1 or 2 score game, even like 10, 14 points at halftime, I think Michigan just throttles down. They go into 4-wheel low in the second half, and that offensive line will get lathered up, and they'll just walk away with it. I thought Jim Harbaugh was completely bananas in fall camp, and you remember the quote too, and he said, I think this defense will be better than last year's. And we're like, well, no, we just saw the 2 edge guys you lost. That's not going to be possible. Collectively, this defense might be better. They are stingy. They can be aggressive when they need to. They play quality football at the point of attack, strike and shed, utilizing hands, physicality, and then they're able to get to the quarterback, which is something I didn't think they would be anywhere near as good at this year as they were a season ago. The physical portion of this game is what's going to be the difference. And I find it very hard to believe that TCU is going to be able to match up.
Do you think about this for a second, just from a head coach's perspective? Sonny Dykes, I think the story tells itself. This is the college football playoff team in all the years we've had one with the longest preseason odds to win the title. I think it was like 200-1. This Michigan team has the 4th longest odds ever. Sonny Dykes, I don't even think he had to move if he didn't want to. He just takes another job across town. First year there, boom, they're in the playoff. And we're undefeated into the conference title game. This time last year, Michigan was going to the playoff. They lose a game. Dude, Harbaugh interviewed for the Vikings job on signing day. Actual national signing day. Everyone else is wrapping up a class. He's trying to get an NFL job. Both of his coordinators are gone. He loses those 2 edge guys. We're watching them in the combine a month later. And if you were to just hit pause there, and then you were to cryogenically freeze someone, and you wake them up right now, if that was you, if you were frozen, how would you have been able to conceptualize Sonny Dykes is going to be in the playoff, and, oh, by the way, Harbaugh is going to face him in the playoff? So much you would think has to go wrong. Ohio State must have just lost 3 or 4 games. That wasn't what happened. They just beat them. They were just flat out better even than they were last year. TCU, it's not like they were a 2-loss team. It's not like they were 0-7 LSU. They were undefeated until the finish line. Then you had 1 loss at the finish line. Their resume is still good enough to get in. It's why I always laugh when people say in the preseason, we don't even need to play the games. We know who's going to make it. Fool, you never know who's going to make it. The same 4 teams have never made it. You're going to have the same teams in it. Like Bama's going to be there. You got to knock them off. Ohio State's going to be there. You got to knock them off. Well, someone knocked them off. And so now you've got fresh blood in there. It's just wild to me. Like you could tell the story of these 2 head coaches for the next 20 years, and I don't think you'll have a playoff matchup that tops what we're seeing right now.
What about what you just said about Harbaugh to last year? Go back even another year when he had to redo his contract with the administration because they were trying to run him. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll take less just to kind of stay here and I guess make everybody happy because you don't know what you're going to do and I'm not really sure what I was going to do. I mean, they're trying to push the guy out of town. And now he's got back-to-back playoff appearances. I think one thing that Jim has done is he has built the foundation of a football team that maybe, and again, It's hard to say it truly is or isn't, Josh, right now, because we don't really know exactly where college football is going. Like we are on a road with no road signs. The exit ramps don't tell us what number it is or where it's off to. Like we kind of have there's no GPS to where we're going right now in college football. But there's a good chance that the foundation in which he's built his team on may be a little bit easier to replicate year after year after year. Physicality, run game, defense, plug explosive players in different areas. You get a takeover guy at defensive end, great. Our structure is going to make us really good, but now we add him, we become dominant. Our structure offensively is going to be really good. Add a quarterback who's more capable and a group of receivers who gets more opportunity. Now, I've heard you talk about this multiple times, and you said it brilliantly. It's not that they didn't have talent at receiver last year. It's that the receivers can have more opportunity this year. It's kind of the same thing that happened with Tennessee. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt was telling us about Jalen Hyatt and how good he was going to be. Well, what did Josh Heupel do? He gave Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt more opportunities to show what they're capable of. So you get a quarterback that gives those receivers more opportunity, and you're explosive at tailback, not just one, but two. So maybe that foundation is a little easier to carry over because it's not as reliant on elite quarterback, or it's not as reliant on a larger group of individuals on your team year after year after year. I don't know if it plays out that way, but maybe how he's built it, he and Sharon Moore and those guys right now will be able to carry that over a little bit more. I mean, hell, they're dominating the portal with offensive linemen now. I mean, you get a starter from Arizona State, 2 starters from Stanford. I think some 5-star just committed. So maybe that's going to be easier to carry over once you build it that way than finding receivers and quarterbacks to have to replace to go out and be a dominant football team.
Yeah, they got the linebacker from Nebraska yesterday, too. I think the point you're making there, they're not star dependent. Like when they lose a guy, when they lose an Aiden Hutchinson, there's a reason people made a big deal about it, because he's a good player, and conventional college football wisdom tells you that leaves a massive vacuum of a void. There's no way that team, the generic team, is going to be as good as they were last year. Well, it depends on the foundation that he played on. What platform did he play on? I actually think of all these programs out there, a program like Michigan, they've probably built themselves to be the biggest beneficiary of the portal. Ironically, it was their in-state neighbor. It was Michigan State that took a bunch of kids and had a good year last year, but it may be Michigan where I'm not telling you have to come in and save my entire program. I got that taken care of. I'm going to put you on a really big pedestal here. You don't have to shoulder the entire load. You can come in and do what you do. We're going to win or without you, but if you come in, we'll probably both benefit from it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.